Hello, and welcome back to Closet Cosplay.
Oh, this is the podcast where we create con-worthy cosplays on a closet budget. I'm Michelle.
And I'm LJ.
And welcome back. So today we are looking at actually a suggestion that was sent in with our cosplay suggestion form from a friend of ours. Her name is Eve, and she sent us the character BloodRayne from the game BloodRayne. And what we didn't initially include in our suggestion form, which we have since included, was, hey, give us a reference picture. Because when we first started looking at BloodRayne, we said, oh, she has multiple outfits. Which one did Eve mean? And when we reached out, she said, oh, I want this black and red, her classic outfit.
It's not a classic. Well, I don't know if it's classic outfit. When I think of BloodRayne, I think the next one we're going to talk about. But the one that Eve had initially decided that she wanted, it's a two-piece. It's sort of like a midriff bearing latex halter top and black and red latex pants with these black boots. It's very intricate and it has a lot of specific detailing and patterns.
And the thing that first was the challenge, because I started searching it because I was like, oh, okay, let's look this up and just see what I can find initially. And the challenge I ran into was, it wasn't just a solid black pant. It wasn't just a solid black corset vest deal in the way it looked. So I kept trying to piece things together. So I would find a black legging or a red legging or maybe a red full bodysuit and tried to piece over like a black corset or piece over a hot short or piece over a stirrup type
and you're
deal.
getting all these different pieces that aren't the same texture or fabric, and they're, at the end of the day, we weren't really coming up with anything that read as close. And again, I'll always harp on accuracy versus readability, and that's fine, but at a certain point, you're getting a ton of these pieces just to kind of replicate, and it's still not coming across.
When I looked at it, even when I looked at the best options of it, and I think the best option I came up with to look at this, in case you're interested, is I thought, okay, get a red latex legging, get a high, like thigh-high boot, and do a black bodysuit without the legs, kind of over the red latex legging, and then do a underbust red corset to kind of give that red-black detail. But even then, when I looked at it, I said, that still doesn't really look right. I mean, it would look cool, I think.
But it's not close enough to the actual outfit that you can be like, oh, I get what outfit you're going
I 100% get what you're going for. That makes sense. So
my suggestion, nobody liked. So my suggestion, and I'm telling you, if you go look at Deadpool's outfit, that is the exact same pattern between the BloodRayne pants and the Deadpool pants.
I forgot that we looked at Deadpool.
Yeah, we did look at the Deadpool. I'm serious. So if you do want to do that, I like my pencil.
I know you like your pencil, but you're shaking lead. I guarantee you.
I'm sorry. Okay. I'm sorry for
LJ talks with her hands, you guys.
I really do. It's the Greek in me. But yeah, so they Deadpool has a very similar color and pattern, especially on the pants. So one of my suggestions was you could get this cheap little Deadpool costume and you can cut off the parts that you don't want. But for the pants and the outer colors, it's pretty spot on, really. But it still was you're doing a lot to try to get to a look that isn't close enough.
I feel like if you really wanted to do the BloodRayne cosplay and that outfit specifically, that it would almost need to be made, crafted, and when I looked at these BloodRayne cosplayers that had done this, which is another kind of part of my process, just to see how other people pieced it together, what it looked like finalized, different angles, the way the latex moved and that kind of thing, to see if it was did you do a separate piece or is that actually sewn together? And almost everyone I saw was, it looked very crafted.
Yes, they didn't look like a lot of bought pieces. It looked like made pieces. And even some of the cosplays that we found that were put together were not very high quality, or they were extremely high quality. And
thousands of dollars. And that wasn't in our budget. So
a little bit over.
Just a little bit. So what we ended up doing is switching gears. And I want to touch on switching gears just a little bit because this has happened for me multiple times, where I've seen a character I want to cosplay, and I look at their, the initial outfit that I want to do, and I get into the process and I get into looking at it, and either A, it's way out of my budget to buy it all, way out of my skill level to craft any of it, or I just don't have the time for either of those things, or to look up these very specific pieces. Mm-hmm. So what I've done in the past is I will completely switch gears, or I will look for maybe a different skin depending on the character. I immediately go to things like Overwatch, things like Street Fighter, where you have these characters, but they also have all these different skin options, all these different costumes they wear that could still read as, that's that character, just this one cool skin that not everybody's done.
And fortunately, BloodRayne does have that. There's several outfits that BloodRayne has.
Exactly. So we kind of took that philosophy of, we've had to switch gears before with our own cosplays. Yeah. Maybe we try to take this cosplay and switch gears.
Yeah, and we were actually very fortunate that Eve was over here while we were sitting here looking at everything.
It did help a whole lot.
Yeah, so we're sitting here like trying to go over it with her, and she's like, well, this one, it would just be, and she pulls up the one of, if you are familiar with BloodRayne, I'll describe it just for a little bit if you don't. It's this latex, in the game, it's a latex long black dress that's split, with a panel down the middle and split on both sides of the legs, and it's some thigh-high black boots and stuff like that. She's like, this would be too difficult to cosplay. And we look at each other and we're like,
no, that's easier.
That's way easier to cosplay. She's like, really? Because the thing about it is, finding a latex dress like that is difficult, but it doesn't need to be latex either.
Right. Exactly. And when we got on Amazon, we did a quick search of, what did we search? Split
I did like a split dress black, and like it was like third page. It's pretty freaking close.
Right. And so we started with that as a base piece, which was a lot easier than finding a base piece for the other outfit.
A dozen different kinds of blacks and reds.
Right. And trying to like kind of Frankenstein it together. Yeah. This was like a nice, solid piece. And here's your accuracy versus readability thing. Yeah. Her actual dress has a very deep V cut. And that was hard to find. However, we found a spaghetti strap V-neck, and her dress had this, it reminded me of like a harness type detail.
Yeah. It's less of a harness in the actual, if you look at the actual dress, it's like part of the dress. But again, readability versus accuracy. So we found this harness that goes on under it and has the same sort of lines, and that you would see that and you would look at that and go, oh, BloodRayne dress. So it still reads.
And so we connected those two things. So once we had that, Eve mentioned to us that she's like, oh, I already had thigh-high boots. And we're like, perfect. You save expense. And that was another thing we ended up including in our suggestion form after the fact, because we thought, well, this is closet cosplay. People are going to have items that could potentially work towards their cosplays, and maybe they just haven't thought about it or thought about their closet or gone through their closet. And so what we decided to add was, hey, do you have any piece already that you could toss towards this cosplay to save yourself the expense, save us the time of searching for it, and make our lives easier, really make your life easier. Right. So with already having thigh-high boots, and typically what I've found is shoes are just about the most expensive part of cosplay. So being able to save that expense, we were able to find, more details in other ways.
Right.
And so what I wanted to do was to find, BloodRayne has a very specific necklace.
Yes.
And I just searched BloodRayne necklace on Google, and an Etsy seller came up who had 3D printed the BloodRayne necklace. And I believe from what I could tell from the Etsy site, it gets delivered like gray and unpainted.
Yeah.
However, they showed a painted version of it, and it looked really good. And I thought, that's not too hard because it's just black and red.
It's just black and red. It's very simple. We're pretty non-crafty people when it comes to stuff like this. However, I do know a little bit about this, and you usually use acrylics. Mm-hmm. Very simple acrylics. Can be something that you pick up at a Walmart. It's not expensive. Mm-hmm. And there's like a spray sealant that you can get on the same craft aisle, and that's it. Like it's super easy. You don't have to have any sort of skill level to do it. I could probably get, you know, an 8-year-old kid to do it for me and it would be fine.
Hey, all the better.
Exactly, free labor. But, yeah, so, like, if you can find, especially a little piece like that, that's affordable and very accurate, that's not going to break your bank, it really helps bring that cosplay across.
Because it gives a nod to that character. It's very
It's only
specific.
associated with that character.
It makes it very specific. Because I think one concern Eve had was, well, I don't want to just look like a vampire.
Right.
I don't want to look like a vampire girl and not be specific to BloodRayne. So that made me think, so then we have to find something specific that BloodRayne fans would be able to say, okay, that is 100% that
and her
character.
necklace is iconic.
Yes.
So if you know BloodRayne, it's going to click in your head immediately.
Exactly. And that was another thing. Eve already had fangs, so we got to save that expense. Yep. Although I have bought fangs before and not ended up using them, but there are different kinds, obviously, besides the, like, Halloween vampire teeth you think of. And they actually make a brand, multiple brands make this kind, but they use thermoplastics that, I did read the instructions. I didn't go as far as to make them, but I did read the instructions and I found the process intriguing because it's a thermoplastic that you kind of boil, heat up, and then form onto your actual tooth. So it's supposed to be a, like, custom pair for you that fits your tooth, that will stay on, that doesn't, like, fall out, that's comfortable. Imagine it's still probably hard to eat with. I don't think I'd eat with
I don't
them.
think you'd want to eat with it, and it's still like any sort of fang setup. You're gonna sound a little weird when you talk, unless you're just very used to it. And even the people who get permanent fangs that I've listened to, they still have a little bit of a strange lisp, because your mouth is just not made to work around that sort of thing. But you're in cosplay.
Right.
Pictures don't make sounds.
That's true. And also, I'm trying to think of what else we were looking at. The wig.
Oh,
we
man.
spent a decent amount of time looking at this wig, and we talked a little bit about lace front versus not, and BloodRayne doesn't have bangs.
She does not have bangs, and she has a widow's peak. And I'm very particular about wigs, as I've discussed in the past, and poor Michelle was about to, like, take my computer away from me because I was being very particular about the kind of wig.
Losing my mind.
But we managed to find one, and this is actually something that's interesting to think about. So we were looking on two different things. She was looking on her phone. I was looking on my computer, and we were scrolling through. She's like, "Well, what about this one?" And I'm like, "Well, it's like looked the right color. It was affordable price. It didn't have a widow's peak, but, you know, split down the middle. You know, it was 90% correct.
It was very close.
Right.
It would have definitely worked.
So, but I had scrolled past this a dozen times. However, on my screen, due to variations in colors,
Right.
it looked more like a soft salmony red on my screen. But if I had gone into the reviews and looked, there were far more accurate photos of the reviews, which showed that it was that nice candy apple red that BloodRayne has. So it is definitely worth, if something is close, go look at the reviews, because those are going to be way more accurate sometimes.
LJ didn't follow her own rule.
Didn't follow my own rule.
But it's okay. We came to a conclusion finally
We
after about an hour of looking at wigs.
And that wig is on the list. So
It is on the list.
You'll be able to see it.
And another thing going along with BloodRayne's wig, she has these, and I don't really understand them. However, it definitely reads as her character, because I imagine not a normal vampire would have this. She has these silver rings.
Yeah.
I think they're silver.
Yeah, they're little silver rings.
These silver rings tied into her hair, and there's a black ribbon that comes off of that ring, and it's on either side of her head. And we were thinking, okay, well, what is that? And Eve actually gave us the suggestion of why not just earrings, like normal silver hoop earrings, and we said yes.
Yeah, obviously.
That 100% works. The only thing you would need to pay attention to is some hoop earrings don't connect.
Yeah.
You know how they have the end post and they don't really connect. So we found a pair that has that little latch that goes over and connects so that you could tie it into the hair and it wouldn't immediately fall out, and it still reads as a full ring. And then just some normal black ribbon you could find at Michael's, Hobby Lobby. We found one on Amazon, but with those 50% coupons, you could probably get it way cheaper locally.
Yeah, and those metal rings too. Like, yeah, we picked earrings, but there's, you could go to a hardware store and get rings, and I'm sure for a couple cents. So we just threw those in there if you want to be... if you're like me, that sometimes a couple of dollars would just save you the trouble.
Or the trip.
Yeah,
kind of
so
stuff.
It's just kind of up to you. Plus, you could reuse the silver earrings.
There you go.
I'm always about multiple use.
If you like hoop earrings, you've already got them. And that is an interesting point, talking about hardware stores.
Mm-hmm.
And I love thrift shopping. I love Goodwills.
Oh
I love yard sales. Even if you're in an area that does a lot of yard sales, you can just find some really neat stuff at yard sales as well.
We're not going to do it today, but we do have a Goodwill story to tell you at some point.
We will share a Goodwill story with you guys. But it is a lot of fun to go into like a hardware store or a Walmart or a Hobby Lobby and go in with an open mind and think of, well, how could I use that in a costume? Because it's like nuts and bolts for 50 cents at Home Depot.
Yeah.
And you think, I could maybe spray paint that and use it as some kind of like Metal Gear on a, crafting a gun or something. And it's like, I think about those things. I'm not crafty enough to pull it off. But sometimes I can think about that and say, oh, that would be a creative use. Or I see cosplayers do that and it always impresses me.
Sometimes you don't always have the idea and then go seek out how to create that idea. Sometimes you see the item and it gives you the idea.
Exactly. And I mean, that was really about it for BloodRayne.
Yeah, I think there were just some little other not intricate, but just little details. Like there's some tights. If you want, like she has a little band on the top and there's some faux tights, which I will warn you, I love the faux tights, but if you're on the taller side, they may not work for you. Just because they are short Asian sizes.
Right. So be wary as well where those third-party sellers, where it's coming from, or their size charts that they sometimes include.
Yes, always look at the size chart. I know I have harped on about that in various episodes, but always look at their individual size chart, not Amazon's.
Right, because they could definitely differ.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we can switch gears now to another suggestion we got from a friend. So Twitch sent us a suggestion for Dan from Street Fighter, I believe.
Dan Hibiki, yes.
Okay,
Dan, from Street Fighter. He's
good.
I don't know a ton about him, but what I found very interesting was the first thing about, what about a pink gi? And I was like, what?
Well, I have no experience in martial arts or fighting games, really. I was never good at fighting games. I never went to like a karate class as a kid. I didn't even know where to start to look for one of those. Mm-hmm. I was like, can you even buy this?
Yeah, I thought maybe a pink gi would just be totally out of the realm. And apparently he even thought so, because he's like, well, if we have to buy a white one and dye it, then maybe we can look at that, which we hadn't even started looking yet. But you, I think, immediately had found one when you started looking.
I did look a little bit on Amazon just out of curiosity to say, like, are we even able to do this?
Yeah.
And once I started scrolling through, at first I just typed in pink gi just to see what would come up. And wouldn't you know it, within the first page, there's a men's gi that is bright pink. Mm-hmm. Basically not the exact color of Dan's. His is a lighter pink, I think. But I said, well, that would work.
Readability versus accuracy.
That would 100% work. And when I looked at the white gis and the dyes and the fact that I have never dyed a piece of clothing, and the thought of that just terrifies me.
Yeah. I
thought I would I don't know what Twitch's abilities are with dyeing clothing.
Right.
But I was just thinking of myself, and I said, I don't think I'd want to do that. I don't think I would trust myself enough to get the perfect shade of pink out of it.
Right.
Or, I would mess it up, or it wouldn't look correct, right. or something would happen, and then I'd have to go buy the pink gi anyway.
Yeah.
So then I've spent double money at that point.
Yeah. So, yeah, we looked at this and I was like, I don't even remember how much it was. It was very reasonable, $30, $40 maybe.
Right. It wasn't any kind of ridiculous.
Like, you could have bought a white gi for $30, $40 and then dye, and like, it wasn't really going to be any cheaper to do that with more risk and room for error. So,
and your time,
yes,
putting into it, because I do know, like, the little I have seen about dyeing clothing, it you know, you have to wait so long, or, you know, the longer you wait, or if you don't time it just perfect. And
yeah.
I have seen, there's some blog I've seen before where a girl takes like Goodwill clothing and she repurposes and she dyes a lot.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've seen
and
that.
she dyes stuff in huge batches in like her washer. And I was like, that is
what?
such a foreign, interesting concept to me. That I'm like, how would that work?
My luck, I would like do a load of laundry after, and all my clothes would be dyed pink.
Exactly. Well, that's exactly what I thought.
Yeah.
I said, I don't think I would have the guts to
That's
do
brave.
that. That is very brave.
Very brave.
To me. I thought,
Cosplay brave.
yes. I thought, I don't think I would have the guts. But, you know, if you want to try it, hey, go for it.
Go for
Let
it.
us know how it goes.
If you find one at a discount somewhere and you're just like, well, I'm going to, you know, $6 at a Goodwill or something, you do it, go for it. At that point, you're not really out anything much.
Exactly. I mean, the problem with this situation specifically was, are you going to spend $30, $40 on a legitimate item plus dye for it not to go well, to then have to go back and buy the item that's already there? Now, it sometimes might not be an option for your specific cosplay, but for this one specifically,
yeah,
I was thinking I wouldn't want to spend $60 when I could spend $30 and have it at my doorstep. Done.
Right. And that would be my option, and especially if your budget, which his budget definitely allowed for it, and it was such a simple costume. There's not even, you know, he doesn't even have a headband. It's, you know, he has the pink gi, which is tore off, which is literally just, you know, you cut that with some scissors. I've talked a lot about cutting costumes this weekend, which we'll get into at some point.
I have never cut a costume, so it scares me.
I'm all scissors. Get it off. Anyway, so it's that, and it's like a black belt. I think it's just a plain black belt.
You can buy a black belt on Amazon.
Yeah, you can. There's all sorts, super cheap. And one thing that I was thinking about, which we didn't address when we were looking at the Amazon thing, was the fact that the character is barefoot, which if you're at a con, you don't want to do that.
Yeah, please. I don't know if I'm saying don't go barefoot, because there are those. Have you seen those? They make you look like you're barefoot.
That's what I'm saying, is like if you can get something that looks like you're barefoot. Now, I don't know what all the options are in that.
I don't know what it's called.
But an easy one would just be getting some, you know, beige colored flip-flops.
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah, and just that's way it's comfortable. And in pictures, it's not going to pick up. It'll kind of blend in.
Or you can slip your flip-flops off for a picture.
Right. Nobody's going to get onto you for that. But like that keeps you from, you know, walking over all creations nonsense in cosplay land. But that's one thing. And then he has a wig.
Yeah, I did. It was pulled in a ponytail.
It's in a low ponytail.
Right. And I did think you could just get a long brown wig and pull that back pretty easily.
You can. You don't have to get something it's like short-ish, but I think it's all long. And it's any brown wig that's kind of thin. And this is actually where you can go cheap on the wig, because the cheaper the wigs are, sometimes there's a lot less wefts in them and they're thinner. But with male hair, a lot of the times it is thinner. And in this case, Stan Hibiki does have thin brown hair. So you could get a very cheap wig with the specific reason that it's going to be thin, non-quality wig, because it's going to actually give you a closer look to the character itself.
Exactly. So, I mean, that's 2 of our suggestions basically taken care of. And the main thing we want to express is that just because you have an idea of what your character is going to wear or is going to look like, or the direction you're headed, doesn't mean that you completely scrap the idea in the middle of it because it's not working and head a different direction. You're allowed to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's one of the reasons you shouldn't buy pieces immediately either.
Exactly. It is very much you see if you can make it work, and if you can't make it work, go online, start back over, look at, you know, maybe different skin options, different costume options. Maybe you even look at fan art, which I don't think we've brought up yet, but you can find maybe a different interpretation or even a different style. Maybe you go a different direction of, okay, maybe I'm not going to go and be exactly this, but I'll take this idea and make the character go in a different direction that I could costume.
Yeah, and like in Twitch's case, it's like, you think something doesn't exist out there, it might. So
it doesn't hurt to
your
just
expectations, like Eve's was, I think this would have been hard to cosplay, ended up easy. Twitch didn't think that there would be a pink gi, but there was. So
it exists.
if you don't think something exists, if you don't think that it's going to be easy, just look anyway. You'll be surprised.
It doesn't hurt to try. And hey, if you, don't feel like searching forever, just let us do it for you.
Yep, absolutely. You know that our suggestion form is always included in our bio. We would absolutely love to hear from you guys about what cosplays that you would want to do and what you would want to see us do for you.
And it's the end of the episode, and we do have, I don't want to say a huge announcement, but we do have a pretty exciting announcement.
Larger than average announcement.
Larger than average announcement. Exactly. So we did mention to you guys, I believe, in one of our first 3 episodes that we would have more information for you about Mid-South Con, and we have information for you.
Good information. So we actually have a booth in the vendor hall for Mid-South Con 38, and I'm really excited. We are both going to be there in the costumes that we have discussed in the previous 3 episodes.
Yes.
So you'll be able to come and talk to us. We're going to have such things as, if you want to fill out the suggestion form there, if you want to look at some of the little galleries that we've got, we may even have some little accoutrement, some buttons or pins or something. We haven't totally 100% decided, but we want you guys to come visit us and see what we will
have a booth space. We will be there. We are talking about potentially recording live from Mid-South Con as well. We may even be walking around and fawning over you guys' cosplays and just asking you all the things about them. If you would like to, just stop by and chit chat with us about your cosplay, about our cosplay, about things you want to see on future episodes, or have any suggestions, or just want to hang out,
I'm cool with that.
We're available.
Clearly talkative people.
Yeah. We'll talk your ear off. We're great at that.
That's the truth.
But we are very much looking forward to having a booth. I don't think either of us have had a booth type situation.
No, we have not. So it'll be a totally new situation.
So give us a little grace as we stumble through this having a booth at a con process.
We're excited.
And we're just super excited about it and for the opportunity. And again, Mid-South Con will be March 20th through the 22nd at the Hilton Memphis in Memphis, Tennessee. So, stop by if you're free, and we'd love to see you guys.
And even if we don't see you, definitely follow up in some future episodes after, not this one, but we're going to do some, and we'll have pictures and all that good stuff. And we absolutely look forward to hearing from you guys and seeing what you guys think.
Absolutely. And if you haven't seen already, our podcast is now being distributed to about 8 different...
We're on about 8 different platforms.
8 different platforms.
So it's all sorts of places. Apple Podcasts, Spotify,
Google. Some other ones
Pocket
that are a little
Cast.
more on the edge, I think. Not as known. But hey.
We're there. We're out there.
We're out there.
We got more coming. But until next time.
See you guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.